Chapter 56. Tungwin Hospital, 10. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master Freedom. When they returned to Ferrara, it was close to midnight. The city that never sleeps still shimmered with neon lights. Ubiquitous holographic projections sliced the gloomy sky into red and blue blocks, and the gem-like Ferris wheel slowly rotated. Song felt a strange illusion. They seemed to have left and yet never left this place. Ferrara felt unchanged, still open-armed, welcoming travelers from afar. The wandering musicians at the city gate lightly strummed their instruments, singing tirelessly. Ferrara tilde free Ferrara, the dream you linger in tilde. The off-road vehicle smoothly entered the inner city, and after returning it at the rental center, they had to continue on foot. The four walked along the bustling streets, and the floating billboards in front happened to be playing an advertisement. A sweet smiling female star with a cherry blossom pink princess hairstyle and a gorgeous dress danced gracefully in a sea of flowers. I like your smile, like a gentle rain sprinkling in my heart Around the billboard, many fans were scattered, wearing pink cat ear headbands and enthusiastically distributing support gifts to passers-by, promoting their idol. Yu's new song, Gentle Rain, is released today. Please pay more attention sweet songstress, a healing idol, investing in her won't disappoint. Let's come together to the concert and get the best Yu in the world. In Song K's arms, several posters and merch of Lin Yu were stuffed. She glanced down and saw the chibi cartoon on the support card, smiling sweetly at her. The last time they met, Lin Yu disregarded her image, tucking her long dress into her waist, her hair messy, and slapped at a moth while cursing loudly. I hate caterpillars the most in my life. All of you, D. Song K picked up the pink cartoon keychain, held it up to her eyes, and silently looked at it for 2 seconds, feeling utterly speechless. Should she mention it? Ferrara's star-making ability was truly terrifying. All those idols and personas, they were all fake, indeed. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. She stuffed the keychain into her pocket and turned to look at her companions, ready to discuss the plans for the next steps. Xu Xing also couldn't escape the recommendations of the fans, holding a Lin Yu doll in his hand, his little face filled with disdain. Zhuang Qingyan remained as indifferent as ever, lazily leaning on the wheelchair. As for Fang Jishu, he was hunched over, his head tucked into a cotton coat, showing no interest in anything happening around him. He kept his eyes closed throughout, as if even walking these few steps was a struggle for him. Song K opened her mouth, about to speak, when suddenly deafening noises came from the other side of the street. Over 100 engines roared as powerful motorcycles whizzed by, intense rock music cutting through the night's silence. Song K quickly pushed Zhuang Qingyan to the side of the road to avoid them. The arrogant convoy passed low over them, causing a whirlwind and disheveling their clothes and hair. Then, they sped off in a certain direction. Roar! These street ruffians rampaged through the streets, recklessly throwing Molotov cocktails, and smashing buildings and structures, including blinking signs. The bottles shattered, and the gasoline inside spilled out, creating thick smoke that billowed into the sky. The rampant arsonists excitedly whistled and shouted. Molotov cocktails exploded one after another, thick smoke rising, and colorful, pungent gases filled the air, blocking the vision of the pedestrians. Song K covered her mouth and nose, choking, and watched as deep red fireworks rose into the sky, gradually forming clear words. Freedom. Freedom, we want freedom. Resist artificial intelligence, humans never surrender. AI is the root of all evil. AI will only eradicate humanity. Artificial intelligence, get out of Ferrara. These damned rebels, deserving 1,000 deaths. The passers-by on the street were furious, and the curses continued. However, the turmoil did not stop. The motorcycle convoy suddenly accelerated, turned a corner, and stormed into the nearby Starlight Square. Coincidentally, an IP exhibition of Luo Qing was being held here, funded by the fans themselves, creating an exclusive cultural community. The mob, upon seeing this spectacle, became even more excited. Their actions were full of destructive desires. They raised high-pressure flamethrowers from the rear of their motorcycles and sprayed wildly. The intense fire instantly engulfed Luo Qing. Sculptures, signs, images, everything was submerged in the blaze. The painstaking efforts of the fans over the years were destroyed in an instant. In the scorching flames, Luo Qingyi's green clothes were charred, his jade flute incinerated, and his handsome, gentlemanly face was gradually ruined. His eyebrows were lowered, and his eyes were icy. After returning to the hotel, Song Ke approached the French windows and looked down from a height. The ground was shrouded in smoke and chaos, with occasional flames. Who are those people? Song Ke asked. The official term is the resistance faction. They oppose any form of artificial intelligence and support humans regaining political power, replied Zhuang Qingyan. Zhuang Qingyan organized the information obtained from the dark web during this period. The previous magistrate, Leon, had support from the Century Consortium. After Ilya was elected as the magistrate, he was unwilling to accept it. He has been secretly active and recently funded the resistance faction, breeding a large group of rioters. Song Ke sat down and began to contemplate about the relationship between the scene she had just experienced and the change of regime in Ferrara. The Resistance FA faction wants to overthrow Ilya's rule for true freedom, she said. That's right, Zhuang Qingyan said. Their goal is to escalate the conflict. Where there is light, there is darkness. Just as some idolized and adored the omnipotent artificial intelligence, there were others who detested it. With Ferrara's technological development today, ambitions and desires have continued to expand. The dream of artificial intelligence and humans peacefully coexisting has become a luxury. Song Ke still had a question. She pulled up the schedule from the terminal. During their time away from Ferrara, the participating teams in the Throne Race event were in turmoil. Out of the top 64, over 30 players had either voluntarily withdrawn or died for unknown reasons. 8 teams were unable to participate in the next competition, leaving only 56 teams. Is the Throne Race event related to the Resistance faction's plans? She asked. The Throne Race event, pushed to its current popularity by Ilya, had a financial allure surpassing all music festivals and concerts. It was a nationwide entertainment event in Ferrara. More importantly, this major competition was entirely controlled by artificial intelligence, and humans couldn't interfere. If the Resistance faction truly wanted to incite war, would they pass up this excellent opportunity? You guessed right. If I were Leon, I would target this, Zhuang Qingyan said. In any case, be cautious in every upcoming match. Song Ke looked toward the towering skyscrapers. The surging undercurrent in Ferrara could hardly stay hidden anymore. Ilya, what will you do? When the two mainstays were discussing matters, the old and the young were dozing off. Xu Xing, who had been obediently listening on the sofa, tried to participate with some involvement. However, beside him was Fang Zhishu, who fell into a deep and pleasant sleep, and almost as if the drowsiness was contagious, unknowingly, Xu Xing also hugged the cushion and fell into a deep slumber. Song Ke covered him with a small blanket and carried him back to his room. As she walked, she suddenly realized that when they were talking earlier, they didn't avoid mentioning anything in front of Fang Zhishu. From following them to Ferrara, to hearing Ilya's name, Fang Zhishu didn't show any abnormalities. In this light, it seemed that the person he wanted to kill wasn't this super artificial intelligence. However, there were 50 District C in the Alliance. Who was the magistrate he held a deep grudge against? In the early morning, Song Ke received a message on her terminal. It was sent by An Kiwen. Wang Chang's mechanical limb surgery was successful, and he wanted to inform Wu Juman. However, his communication terminal was turned off. The Azure Phoenix's people were in Ferrara now, so An Kiwen sent the temporary address to Song Ke, hoping she could help and make a trip to deliver a message. He said that after finishing matters in Tungwen, he would immediately come over to meet the others. At the same time, the team list for the top 32 game of the throne race competition was announced. Song K didn't find Lu Xinglan's name in it and didn't know if he had withdrawn or was using another alias. In addition to the teams analyzed by Zhuang Qingyan, she also unexpectedly found Wu Shanghai's name. Thinking back to his suspicious behavior that night, Song K felt this person was quite suspicious and went to Zhuang Qingyan to study the game footage. Pause, Zhuang Qingyan said, and a certain frame was frozen. In the Mirror Lake competition, Wu Shanghai's footage is scarce, and he didn't make many moves. From what we can see here, he uses an ability similar to mechanical type. On the screen, Wu Shanghai's left arm swelled into a mechanical scythe, and he slashed several times in a panic while snatching the mutant zombie. Zhuang Qingyan shook his head. A total of 6 strikes, half of them missed. Moreover, the movements were awkward. It seems he doesn't have good control over his ability. Judging from the attack strength, his level is around D level. D level, not E level? It was strange for Wu Shanghai to deliberately conceal his own level. Even if he was a D level awakener, there were many players stronger than him. Except for Song K and her team, no one would pay attention to him. Song K recalled his timid appearance in Hua City and always felt that there was a mystery about this person. Anyway, since she was going to pass a message for Enkiwen, she might as well ask Wu Juman while she was at it. Song K followed the address and went to Azure Phoenix's temporary residence in Ferrara, an empty airship repair shop. When she arrived in the vicinity and didn't see anyone, she realized something was wrong. Several powered motorcycles were hovering low around the perimeter, skulking around the residence. Song K furrowed her brows. Before she could take action, a stern figure appeared behind the group. Wu Juman's movements were so fast that they were almost imperceptible. With a few bang bang, the members of the resistance fell miserably from the sky, and the powered motorcycles spun and flew in reverse, exploding in place. Wu Juman's voice was cold and sharp. The military is performing a mission. Who allowed you to spy on it? A few members of the resistance faction were held down by their heads, arrogantly shouting, "Freedom!" Wu Juman was ruthless, kicking them unconscious. Song K, such resilient antagonists. Wu Juman grabbed the unconscious individuals and handed them to the team members who had come out. Interrogate them thoroughly and find out their objectives. Then he turned and saw Song K. What's the matter? His tone was as stern as ever. Song K came out from her hiding spot and honestly explained that Enkiwen had sent her to deliver a message. Wu Juman frowned. Why didn't he contact me himself? Song K defended Enkiwen. Your Tay terminal was turned off. He couldn't reach Yu. Wu Juman paused, and took out his own terminal. During this time, he had been too busy, and he needed to concentrate when executing missions. To avoid disturbances from the outside world, he had indeed turned it off. Come in. With many people and prying eyes outside, Wu Juman led her into the residence. Familiar faces like Yang Pei, Maeda Ju, and others were present, but as Song K scanned the area, she keenly noticed that their numbers had decreased again. The original team of 12 members, excluding Enkiwen and Wang Chang who stayed in Tungwen, now had only 8 people left following Wu Juman. Is it this dangerous just to find someone? Or perhaps, are they on a different mission? Out of habit, Song K asked, are you still searching for pay people? Wu Juman's expression stiffened, his gaze sharp as he stared at her. Who leaked this to you? Enkiwen? Song K belatedly covered her mouth, looking sheepish. Oh no, Enkiwen would definitely scold her. This big mouth, Wu Juman commented coldly. As the captain of the Azure Phoenix squad, Wu Juman had a strong sense of duty and confidentiality. Although his demeanor was cold, it couldn't be denied that he was an excellent soldier filled with a sense of responsibility. Enkiwen would sometimes complain, but from Wu Juman, you'd never see any weakness or retreat, only a relentless and determined will. Do you need help? Song K asked hesitantly. As expected, Wu Juman declined. No need. Azure Phoenix's missions don't require external involvement. Song Ke also felt a headache. From the information provided by Zhuang Qingyan, their mission seemed impossible to complete. She couldn't just go up to Wu Juman and argue, "Hey, stop looking, that Xiezu died a long time ago." Her attempt to subtly remind him was also rejected. "Oh," she replied dejectedly. Thinking about her original purpose, Song Ke turned to ask about Wu Shanghai. Wu Shanghai? Wu Juman furrowed his brow. "I don't have a strong impression of him. He was evacuated by Maeda from District D-161. His level is E, with the ability, object stitching. I checked his credentials. There's no way I could be mistaken." Maeda Ju, the vice captain, was even more difficult to deal with than Wu Juman, being rigid and blunt in his demeanor. Wu Shanghai was an E-level awakener evacuated from District D-161. "I've examined his credentials. It's impossible for me to have misremembered," he stated, his dark eyes glaring at Song Ke as he let out a cold hum. "As for why he participated in the competition, that's not within my obligation to inform you. You should go ask him. We still have a mission to carry out. If you're free, you should go back. He's so fierce," Song Ke thought to herself, rolling her eyes. At least she had gathered some useful information and was ready to leave. As she started to move, she suddenly saw something familiar. In Maeda Ju's uniform pocket, a pink keychain peeked out. Song Ke touched her own coat. She seemed to have a similar one. That's not Lin Yuyu's merchandise, right? Almost forgot. This Maeda Ju was a loyal fanboy of Lin Yuyu. Times have changed, and now Lin Yuyu was her coolie, tightly controlled by her. In a way, doesn't that mean she had control over Maeda Ju too? Song Ke's mood suddenly brightened. She cleared her throat lightly and giggled. I like tilde hum smile, like a gentle rain tilde. The melody of the new song she heard last night was quite catchy, but the lyrics were hard to remember. Song Ke immersed herself, singing in a haphazard manner. Veins throbbed on Maeda Ju's forehead. He glanced towards Song Ke and rebuked, "Shut up." He paused, lowered his voice, and grumbled discontentedly, "It's out of tune." Chapter 57. Tungwin Hospital, 11. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. The disappearing AI, Old Zhang, going to watch the match again? Old Zhang, dressed in new clothes and unusually wearing a tie, walked to the central square with a radiant expression. The person who greeted him looked at him and said in a sour tone, "You're having a lucky streak now, making a big profit." In the past, they used to watch the qualifying matches together, and Old Zhang always ended up losing the most. As long as they bet against him, the others could make a small profit. Unexpectedly, after the main matches, this guy somehow had a stroke of luck and reportedly made a big fortune. Look at him now, all flashy and splendid. Old Zhang chuckled innocently. It's just luck, good luck. As for how he turned things around, he was quite clever and didn't reveal a word. After that person left, a friend nudged his shoulder, teasing, "Are you betting on that team again tonight? What's it called? VME 50. Old Zhang's face lit up with a smile. V587. Definitely, going all in. At exactly 8 o'clock in the evening, the tower's lights lit up, and Ake and two charming girls appeared on the elevated stage. Dear audience, long time no see. Ake was as enthusiastic as ever. It's still me, here to provide you with exciting commentary on the top 32 promotion game for everyone. Before the match begins, let me explain a little unexpected situation. Ching, due to personal reasons, cannot attend tonight's match. But it's okay, we have invited the equally popular Yulitsa and Nana to accompany you and watch. The energetic girl with twin ponytails and the gentle and knowledgeable older sister, the two virtual idols, appeared in a stunning holographic display, greeting the audience and displaying lively expressions as if they were right there. The central square and open streets were filled with spectators, all looking up at the sky, erupting in enthusiastic cheers. After the cheers subsided, hushed whispers began. why is Luo Qing suddenly absent? The day before yesterday, I saw on his profile that he admitted to being a special guest. Do you not know what happened last night? Said the person next to them mysteriously. What happened? What happened? It's those rebels causing trouble. In the backstage lounge, Song K was talking to Lin Yu, who was wearing a mask. After the match, don't leave right away. I'll introduce you to someone. She intentionally informed Maeda Ju of tonight's match time, planning to surprise him, but she wasn't sure if he would come. The deputy captain of the Azure Phoenix sneered dismissively upon receiving Song K's invitation. No time. Lin Yu's lips curved slightly under the mask, and she echoed Maeda Ju's words, no time, I've been busy lately with my new song. Song K pouted, pulling out a pink keychain from her pocket. I'll report you, big S star. Lin Yu. Song K imitated Zhuang Qingyan's way of speaking, dragging her words slowly, like a soft light rain. Su Cha, who was originally sitting nearby, quietly listened to the two of them talk. When he heard Song K's off-key singing, the dagger he was twirling with his fingertips slipped and clattered onto the table. It was too hard to listen to. How could anyone sing so off-key, not hitting a single note right? Lin Yu hurriedly covered Song K's mouth, looked around, and fortunately, there was no one else in the lounge. She sighed deeply, my goodness, where did you learn this annoying habit from? All right, I'll go to the main venue. Her expression was resentful. I've disguised myself so meticulously, and nobody could tell, yet you almost exposed me. Song K, with her mouth covered, protested unhappily, MHHMHMH. While the two were talking, the door to the lounge was pushed open, and a familiar person entered, Irene from Guns N' Roses. Irene had a few more scars on her right face, her hair was almost shaved, and she had 2 mobile mortars on her forearms. There was a sense of calm and toughness that came from experiencing the refining of gunsmoke and battles. Seeing the people in the room clearly, she nodded calmly. The favor I owed you has been repaid. In the future, it'll be fair competition. I won't back down. During the Mirror Lake siege, Irene recognized Song K and showed mercy, leading to her later participation in the Endless Slaughter mode. Although Song K would not necessarily lose even if she tried to snatch it, she understood the other party's goodwill. Good, fair competition, no need to be back down. Irene glanced at Lin Yu, reminding her with a meaningful look, the most perfect disguise doesn't just change your appearance. Micro-expressions, including unconscious movements, will all reveal your true identity. Irene recognized Lin Yu. Although she didn't say it directly, everyone present understood the obvious implication in her words. Just moments ago, Lin Yu, who had boldly claimed, nobody could tell, suffered a big blow. Fortunately, Irene was not one to gossip, nor was she interested in publicizing Lin Yu's privacy. After saying this, she took her belongings and left. As the match time approached, the teams drew lots for their groupings. Song K specifically went to wash her hands, brimming with confidence as she drew a lot. Group G great, at the bottom again. Taking another look at the list of teams in the same group, the Anna Knights, an absolutely tough opponent. Song K exchanged a glance with Xu Xing, her tone bitter, next time, why you do it? Before the match began, each participating player received a peculiar piece of equipment, the insight glasses. It was said that this device contained thousands of sensory conduits. When worn on the head, it would connect with the nerves, capturing the subject's subconscious activity and projecting their innermost thoughts. And its name, Insight Glasses, precisely matched the theme of this competition: fight against fear. High up in the tower, Ake passionately commented, the rules for this match are very simple. Within the limited time, the team that kills the most zombies wins. Yes, just ordinary zombies. Do you think it's that easy? No. Do you still remember our theme? Ake passionately shouted, fight against fear. Players will wear the insight glasses, facing their darkest memories. Holographic projections of terrifying zombies appeared at the right moment, lifelike images flashing in front of everyone as if they could smell the stench from the monsters' cracked mouths. The audience was not lightly scared and yet excitedly screamed. Roar tilde, okay imitated the roar of a zombie. I wonder what each player is most afraid of. Don't get scared, I announce, the match begins. Brilliant fireworks burst open in the sky, colorful beams flickered rapidly in the dark night, and 7 large suspended screens rose slowly between the towers, displaying real-time images corresponding to groups A to G. The prize pool opened, accumulating and rolling, the numbers increasing crazily every second, and a constant stream of money flowed behind the scenes. Group C. Irene blasted away approaching zombies with a shot, and the insight glasses suddenly flashed. The surroundings changed, and she was no longer in the tower but back in the pitch-black mirror lake without stars. Blood splattered on her retina, and comrades fighting side by side slowly fell before her eyes. Irene returned to that day, back to the nightmare she couldn't escape from. Oh tilde our contestant Irene, her greatest fear is Mirror Lake, okay said with a regretful tone. Emotional people always cherish their lost companions, but at times like these, emotions can become burdensome. How will Irene handle this? Irene's movements slowed down, and her eyes wandered forward for 2 steps, trying to reach out and grab her falling companion. In that moment of hesitation, she revealed a clear flaw. Several zombies pounced on her, biting her small arm and breaking her cannon. Irene, snap out of it, Eula is already dead. The companion's roar abruptly awakened Irene. She screamed in pain. The mortar on her left arm was completely damaged. The zombie's sharp teeth pierced her skin. Irene kicked the approaching group of monsters, lifted her right arm, aimed the cannon at the zombie's head hanging on her and pressed the trigger without hesitation. A blazing red light flashed by. The zombie's head, Irene's arm, and the cannon she held all flew out together. A heroic sacrifice, Irene blasted off her own left hand. This is the most sensible choice right now, but not something an ordinary person can do. Let's cheer for Irene, and keep the votes rolling. Ake seized this wave of high traffic, desperately encouraging the audience. I will always love Irene, she's like resilient grass facing the raging wind, never giving up even in desperate situations. Nana was a sensitive artificial intelligence, and tears were welling up in her eyes as she saw this. Irene, Irene, the audience's cheers surged higher and higher, and Irene's approval ratings peaked, surpassing all the other players. Group D, Lin Yu retreated while singing, her voice never stopping, buffing Su Cha, who held the front and cleared the kills. When the insight glasses lit up, a damp, eerie rainforest covered the entire field of vision. Giant plants above blocked the sky, and the fetid air made it difficult to breathe. However, Su Cha seemed to be accustomed to walking in this environment. His movements were not slow at all. The venom-enhanced abilities spread extensively, causing swaths of zombies to fall. On Lin Yu's side, the surroundings turned into a hospital, resembling an intensive care unit. A blurry figure lay on the bed, and countless zombies were pressed against the glass outside, roaring and banging on the walls. In the next second, they were about to rush into the ward. The person lying inside seemed to sense the danger, and the ventilator alarm blared, signaling imminent danger to their life. This was probably the last thing Lin Yu wanted to face in her mind. She shook her head, forcing herself to stop thinking about these things and focused on dealing with the zombies in front of her. Named randomly, since entering the competition and deliberately keeping a low profile, they had always maintained a moderate to lower popularity. Apart from them, there weren't many popular contestants in Group D. Ironically, this group had the lowest level of attention. Ake glanced at the screen, uninterested, and switched to the next group. Group G, Song K and Shu Xing stood back to back. Shu Xing released a blizzard to gather a horde of zombies, while Song K harvested the zombies' heads with her twin blades. Facing ordinary zombies, the two coordinated seamlessly, with no pressure throughout, and the kill count kept rapidly increasing. The inside glasses lit up, and the surroundings changed. On Shu Xing's side, it was like a zoo, with all sorts of strange and bizarre zombies. Zombies with 2 heads and 6 arms, water monsters with an elephant's nose and an eel's body, vividly appearing before everyone. Children fear simple things, and their imagination is overly rich. The style of zombies and monsters imagined by Shu Xing was so different from reality that it actually helped them distinguish better. The fears of contestant Shu Xing are very, very simple, Ake remarked. Team V587 is the dark horse of the Mirror Lake competition, and so far, the only team that has not received sponsorship from the consortium. Although there are only 2 of them, they have brought us quite a lot of surprises. What do you think, Yulitsa? Have you watched the Mirror Lake competition? Of course I have. Yulika's orange eyeshadow twinkled. This is also a treasure team that I support. I'm curious about contestant Song Kei's fear. Could it be the water monsters she has killed? Both guest invitees directed their gaze towards the screen for Group G. What was Song Kei's fear? The inside glasses flashed, revealing an unexpected image. Pure white, a blinding pure white. It seemed to be a closed room, but the space was extremely small, with dazzling spotlights from all directions. The bright lights made it difficult to open one's eyes. In the distant sky, there seemed to be blinking red dots. Huh? Is the inside glasses broken? Yulitsa asked disappointedly. Well, Ake was also at a loss for words. Technically, official equipment shouldn't break. It can only be said that contestant Song Kei's thoughts are very unique. Perhaps, she's afraid of the dark, so she prefers to stay in bright places? Ake speculated boldly, stroking his chin. Finding herself in a brightly lit setting, Song Kei also looked confused. What was this situation? Was this her fear? Inexplicably, a glint flashed in front of her eyes, and amidst the group of zombies she was dealing with, a sudden figure emerged. Siang's mechanical exoskeleton bent into claws and lunged directly at Song Kei. Song Kei reacted very quickly, raising her twin blades to block. Clang! The intense friction between the metals produced sparks. What are you doing? Song Kei exclaimed angrily. This competition was about killing the number of zombies without requiring them to kill each other. Why did Siang attack her? Finally caught you. Last time you slipped away pretty fast. Siang laughed sinisterly. Your level 2 crystal, give it to me. Siang was inherently greedy and had long set his eyes on the green crystal in Song Kei's hands. Unexpectedly, the day after the Mirror Lake competition ended, Song Kei left Ferrara and completely disappeared. He searched for a long time but couldn't find her. Now that he finally got into the same group, he naturally wanted to seize this opportunity and snatch the crystal. If Song Kei was sensible, she should have obediently handed it over. If she dared to resist, he would kill her immediately. Crazy, Song Kei cursed in her heart, always acting like he's someone's superior. I'll show you who's the boss. She turned around and advised Xiao Xing, keep killing the zombies. Then she fearlessly went up to confront him. The short knife sliced across Siang's chest, causing sparks to fly. Siang's mechanical body seemed to be made of some unknown material. It didn't cut through even after a strike. Song Kei frowned slightly, pushed forward another half-meter, narrowing the distance between her and Siang, preparing to strike again. Siang took a half-step back, his mechanical chest rapidly reassembled, and suddenly activated automatically, revealing a small hole. The dark gun barrel aimed at Song Kei, and countless superpowered shotgun pellets shot out. Sneaky, he deliberately exposed a vulnerability to bait Song Kei into attacking. Ha ha ha, naive, I will kill you and then take the crystal. Wouldn't that be even more enjoyable? Before Siang's laughter could end, Song Kei clashed her twin blades, merging them into a spiritual weapon umbrella. In a critical moment, she quickly opened the umbrella, and all the shotgun pellets hit the blue umbrella surface, being completely absorbed. Then she leapt into the air. In Siang's astonished eyes, her Ma thorn rotated and stabbed fiercely into his skull. After piercing through the skull, Song K didn't stop. She picked out the 2 tubes connected at the back of his brain, cutting them one by one. Siang's head was mostly mechanical. It rolled down to the ground, smoking, and was severely damaged. The mechanical skull was probably scrapped. It was unknown if he could salvage his life. "Oh," Ake exclaimed, "Contestant Song K single-handedly killed contestant Siang." She soloed a B-level awakener. Outside the central square, Zhuang Qingyan watched the screen, observing the slender and seemingly frail yet explosively powerful figure. His lips slightly curved. "Dr. Fang, you should consider yourself lucky for making the right decision." Fang Jishu soberly watched Song K's entire match. He slowly raised his eyelids and, after a moment of silence, spoke hoarsely, "I admit she's strong, but so what? The opponent is just a B-level awakener." Zhuang Qingyan shook his head, his voice carrying deeper implications. "You're wrong. She is far stronger than you imagine. And the luck I mentioned is not about Song K's strength." "Oh, then what is it?" Fang Jishu retorted coldly. Zhuang Qingyan sighed vaguely. "She is not only powerful but also compassionate." Fang Jishu looked at the screen where Song K's face was full of disdain, kicking Siang's head away, then turning back to the battlefield and rapidly harvesting the zombie heads, as if chopping vegetables and cutting fruits. Fang Jishu shrugged his head slightly inside his cotton coat, not commenting on Zhuang Qingyan's assessment of her being compassionate. Zhuang Qingyan smiled and didn't say more. He turned his gaze to Group F, where Wu Shanghai was. Zhuang Qingyan watched the actions of the people in the footage, his brows furrowing more and more. Wu Shanghai changed his attacking technique again, this time using an ability similar to devouring. A black hole appeared in his chest corresponding to the same position on the zombie, creating a rather disgusting sight. The clearing speed was not fast, clearly lagging behind the leading teams. Wu Shanghai's own face was grim, and it was unclear whether it was because of the peculiar ability or the lagging progress. Zhuang Qingyan silently observed for a while and softly exclaimed, "Ah! So that's how it is." Originally, it wasn't his own ability, so naturally, he couldn't use it well. Regarding the types of abilities, Qinglin Institute had conducted numerous experiments. The final data showed that the awakening of abilities was not entirely random. Some individuals were born with a predisposition to malevolence, a base nature, accustomed to stealing and robbing. Consequently, their awakened abilities were akin to rats in the sewer, dirty and dark. 10 minutes before the countdown ended, Song K had already defeated enough zombies to advance early. She and Xu Xing walked out of the competition area and looked up at the suspended display screen in the sky. There were still 3 groups of matches yet to conclude, but the participants she knew had mostly secured their advancement. Song K retrieved her terminal and glanced at the message, then chuckled. "What's going on?" Xu Xing asked. "Something good," Song K happily shared with him. Maeda Ju unexpectedly came to watch the competition. Although his attitude was indifferent, he specifically sent his location to Song K, urging her to come as he had only half an hour before returning to his team. Song K planned her next steps in her mind. First, she would meet up with Zhuang Qingyan, then call Lin Yuyu, and together they would go find Maeda Ju. She wondered what expression this old-fashioned person would have upon seeing his idol in front of them. The thought was quite exhilarating. Song K held Xu Xing's hand and eagerly headed towards the central square. Suddenly, the sky erupted in a brilliant fireworks display, which Song K assumed was arranged by the organizing committee. She glanced back. Almost immediately, she realized something was wrong. After the crimson fireworks burst, a glaring word appeared. Freedom. It was the resistance faction. But could they, relying on those motorbikes, truly impact the throne race competition? Song K couldn't help but doubt. Soon, she realized she was mistaken. This time, the ones taking action weren't petty street thugs. The fireworks were just a signal. The high-voltage pulses at the top of the tower suddenly surged by several million volts. Bang bang, the high-frequency floodlights burst in succession, and the entire city's power grid short-circuited instantly. The Ferris wheel stopped, the neon dimmed, and the ubiquitous music fell silent. And on the high-altitude stage, the figures of Ake, Yulitsa, and Nana, projected by holograms, suddenly froze while speaking, like light screens losing signal, rapidly flickering for a few seconds, and then, they disappeared into thin air. After losing power, all artificial intelligences disappeared. The venue plunged into complete darkness, and the audience fell into endless confusion and chaos. What happened? Why is there a power outage? Where's Ake? Where's the screen? Why is everything gone? Damn, don't step on me, it's too dark. For a while, the long-abandoned loudspeaker was pop pop, tapped twice, and from inside came a panicked voice. Sorry everyone, I am a committee member in charge of cleaning, no, logistics personnel. Due to that technical issue, the throne race competition is temporarily suspended. The results of the 32 qualifiers will be announced at a later date. Song K tightened her grip on Shu Xing's hand. Let's go quickly. Maeda Ju studied the point where the competition ended and hurried to the scene. Suddenly, Ferrari experienced a power outage. He stood at the alley's entrance, waiting for Song K to come. In the quiet night, faint sounds of a heated argument came from deep within the alley. When I sold the spot to you, how come you assured me? Didn't you promise guaranteed advancement? Now that I'm eliminated, I've lost all my money. A man's voice sounded angry. The other person apologized meekly. I'm sorry, I'll try to figure something out, get another spot. What are you thinking? You're useless. You claim to be a C-level awakener, but I think you're not even E-level. Truly pure trash. I must have been blind at that time. The first man's voice abruptly stopped, followed by a thud as a heavy object hit the ground. Maeda Ju furrowed his brow and headed towards the source of the sound. A man of medium build had his back to him, panting heavily. In the man's hand was a sharp stone, and on the ground lay a warm corpse, its head smashed, blood flowing all over. Hearing footsteps, the man turned around in panic, a bewildered expression on his face. Wu Shanghai, what are you doing here? Maeda Ju glanced at the corpse on the ground and raised his voice, saying, You killed someone. Wu Shanghai was sobbing, his legs giving way as he knelt down. Deputy Captain, it's not like that. Listen to my explanation. I didn't mean to kill him. He forced me. I didn't want to. I just lost control. I just hit him once. Maeda Ju's face turned solemn, and his words were cold and cutting. I don't care about your conflicts, but you're an awakener. Even if your awakened ability isn't offensive, you shouldn't harm civilians. I will report tonight's incident to the Ferrara patrol team. Explain yourself to them. Wu Shanghai turned pale upon hearing this. No, Deputy Captain, please don't tell the patrol team. Maeda Ju snorted and turned away. I should have known what kind of person you were. I shouldn't have brought you out of District D. Wu Shanghai's pleas fell silent for a moment. Maeda Ju was in a bad mood, and after dealing with the trouble, he just wanted to find Song K quickly and then return to the team. Suddenly, his steps halted. A cold black hole appeared in front of him. A strange ability unfamiliar to him devoured him. Maeda Ju was caught off guard, falling down with his eyes wide open. Chapter 58. Tungwen Hospital, 12. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. She wanted to kill this person with her own hands. The city of Ferrara, known as the Nightless City, was suddenly attacked by the rebels. The energy to the tower was cut off, plunging the entire city into chaos. Song K and Shu Xing hurriedly made their way back to the central square. In Song K's mind, Zhuang Qingyan and Fang Jishu were both weak men and had no ability to protect themselves. Putting them in a crowded place was usually fine, but the current situation was too dangerous. As darkness fell, the audience at the scene was initially briefly bewildered. Then, internal panic was infinitely amplified, spreading outward. Countless people desperately pushed to get out, and due to not being able to distinguish the direction, there was shoving, falling, and even trampling incidents. Fang Jishu stumbled and was bumped by people rushing out from an unknown direction. Zhuang Qingyan's wheelchair was constantly jostled and scraped, tilting and swaying, making it difficult to maintain balance. His face was stern, his eyebrows furrowed, enduring as much as he could. His right hand was just about to rise. A slender hand reached from behind, steadying him. Song Ke had come back. Song Ke held the wheelchair with her left hand and pulled hard with her right hand, pulling Fang Jishu, who was being tossed around, back. Then she dragged Xu Xing like a little tail, against the crowd, and managed to escape the congested center with difficulty. The four of them moved away from the chaos and found a relatively less crowded corner to stand in. The Res Resistance F faction, they've taken action? Song Ke asked. It was Leon who took action, Zhuang Qingyan corrected her. The rebels were just troublesome pests and couldn't stir up a major storm. But Leon, supported by the century-old consortium, was different. He used a killer move as soon as he acted. Cutting off the tower's energy was a direct attack on the vital point. After all, Ferreira's artificial intelligence was composed of data, and the central hub that stored massive data required energy support, much like a human heart. An artificial intelligence without a heart, losing its central hub of stored data, undoubtedly entered a death state. After listening to the explanation, a hint of doubt flashed in Song Ke's mind. Leon's success tonight came too easily, right? The tower was Ilya's stronghold. Would he really surrender so easily? This super AI was said to control everything in Ferrara, so did he really have no knowledge of the underground activities of the rebels? Song Ke voiced her doubts, and Zhuang Qingyan hesitated for a moment before speaking. Just then, a gentle female voice came from behind them. Ilya won't lose so easily. It was Lin Yu and Su Cha. They had arranged to meet here after the match, and despite the unexpected events, the two of them still showed up. What do you mean? Song Ke asked. Lin Yu adjusted her mask, not taking it off even in the darkness. I've heard Nana mention it. The central hub of Ilya is not in the tower at all. In the whole Ferrara, no one knows where its true form is. So even if the rebels destroy the tower's energy, it won't restrict Ilya. Moreover, they've underestimated this ruler. Lin Yu sighed. Ilya doesn't have much sentiment for the people of Ferrara, but his desire for power is top-notch. He won't allow anyone to challenge his authority, especially humans. In the central square, the panicked crowd was running around like headless flies, and the ruler of this city had yet to appear. Zhuang Qingyan suggested reasonably, we shouldn't get involved in this matter. Let's observe quietly for now. Song Ke nodded. In any case, the struggle between Leon and Ilya was Ferreira's internal affair. Their identities were just participants in the throne race event. It was not their place to intervene. It was time to get things done. Song Ke turned to Lin Yu, eager as she tugged at her sleeve. Come with me. Let's go meet someone. Lin Yu looked helpless. You have to tell me who we're meeting first. Your fan. Song Ke grinned foolishly. She glanced at the terminal and noticed that Maeda Ju had not moved for a while. She urged, hurry. What if he got impatient and left? Song Ke dragged Lin Yu towards the location, with Zhuang Qingyan and Su Cha following behind. Who is this person that you're treating so well? Why'd I have to go meet them personally? You'll know in a moment. When they arrived at the alley where Maeda Ju was supposed to be, it was empty. Song Ke double-checked. Yes, this was the place. So where was he? He wouldn't shy away and hide, would he? That's not Lee like him. He shouldn't know that I'm bringing Lin Yu, she wondered aloud. Song Ke looked left and right but couldn't find Maeda Ju. All she saw was a dark, seemingly endless alley. She thought for a moment and then stepped into it. The further she went, the dimmer the light became, and the surroundings grew eerily quiet, as if even the flow of air had come to a halt. Deep in the alley, a faint figure lay. Song Ke halted her steps, a bad premonition rising in her heart. She slowed her breathing, and a blue light flashed in her palm as her thorn spun into view, slowly approaching the dark figure. In the bleak moonlight, the person's face gradually became clear. The sight made Song Kei's pupils shrink, her heart pounding violently, blood rushing to her brain, and her whole body buzzing. Maeda Ju's eyes were open, breathless, lifeless, lying on the ground. Maeda, Maeda? Song Kei rushed forward and touched him. His body was cold. He had been dead for some time. She struggled to accept it, attempting to feel his pulse and listen to his heart, but there was complete silence, no response at all. Ting! The thorn fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Maeda, an incredulous and pained cry echoed throughout the alley. How could this be? Maeda Ju, how could he die here? Due to the immense shock, Song Kei's thoughts descended into chaos. He was fine just moments ago, even messaging her. Why hadn't they been in touch for a while, and he was already dead? So close to her, right before her eyes, Maeda Ju was killed by someone. Song Kei trembled all over. It was a tremor of extreme, infuriated grief. Who was it? Who killed Maeda Ju? Tears streamed down her face. It was all her fault. If she hadn't invited Maeda Ju over, if she hadn't insisted on surprising him, pulling him along to meet Lin Yu, would this have happened? Did she cause Maeda Ju's death? Song Kei cried. She couldn't control her tears, grieving inconsolably. The others behind caught up, witnessing the scene, their faces filled with shock and disbelief. Fang Jishu glanced at the person on the ground, momentarily stunned, then closed his eyes. Once a doctor, he used to be saddened by the departure of life despite being accustomed to life and death. However, later, those devastating blows completely extinguished his compassion. Now, his heart would no longer fluctuate. Lin Yu had the most intense reaction among the remaining people. She stared blankly at Maeda Ju's body, at a loss for words. Song Kei kept talking all the way, unusually talkative, sharing a lot about this person. She mentioned how he was usually very old-fashioned but oddly liked to listen to her songs. If someone else sang poorly, he would get angry. Lin Yu could tell that, even though Song Kei kept saying what was wrong with him, she was actually full of anticipation. Otherwise, she wouldn't have dragged her to meet this fan. And now, the person described by Song Kei, who was old-fashioned and awkward yet genuinely loved her as a fan, had died silently and unceremoniously. They hadn't even met. Lin Yu exhaled heavily, a bitter feeling in her chest. She could understand Song Kei's pain. Sucha, go have a look. Sucha silently approached, squatting down to examine Maeda Ju's body. There was a clear missing piece on the left side, exposing a hollow wound. He activated his ability, and small dark green dots entered Maeda Ju's mouth, capturing the traces left by the awakened energy. The killer was a person with abilities. A few meters away lay another person, fatally injured in the head. Sucha picked up some of the blood dust on the ground, brought it close to his nose, and sniffed. Besides the smell of blood, there was also an unfamiliar scent. The killer had hastily escaped after the murder, leaving behind many traces. Being from the rainforest, he had the innate skill of tracking ingrained in his blood. Given some time, he could find the culprit. Zhuang Qingyan wheeled forward, Song Kei with her back turned, trembling slightly. He sighed silently and gently pressed Song Kei's shoulder. Let's inform Wu Juman first. Yeah. It took a long time before Song Kei replied in a low voice. The next thing she had to face was probably Wu Juman's wrath. Wu Juman arrived very quickly. Not only him, but all 7 remaining Azure Phoenix team members from Ferrara had also come. Seeing Maeda Ju's body, Yang Pei couldn't contain himself and cried out in deep sorrow, "Deputy Captain." Wu Juman walked closer step by step, surrounded by surging abilities, exuding an oppressive feeling of an impending storm. He squatted down, silently gazing at Maeda Ju for a while, then reached out and gently closed his eyes. Then he stood up again and said somberly, "Salute." The 7 Azure Phoenix team members, including Wu Juman, uniformly removed their hats, placing their left hands flat in front while saluting with their right hands in the standard Alliance military salute. Maeda was an excellent soldier, obedient to orders, strictly disciplined. Since joining the 11th team, he has been diligent and has never made any mistakes, Wu Juman said. A person like him could die on the battlefield, die at the hands of enemies, or die in the course of a mission, but he cannot die here without reason. Wu Juman turned to Song Ke, his voice dangerously low. Tell me, why did he die? Song Ke hesitated. Lin Yuyu stood in front of Song Ke, blocking her. Hey, Captain, she didn't kill him. She came here with us and knows nothing. Song Ke is already upset. Don't question her like this. Wu Juman remained expressionless. Maeda took an hour off today to come and meet her. Now, something has happened to him. If I don't question her, who should I ask? He wouldn't leave the team easily. What did you say to him? Wu Juman continued. Song Ke answered slowly. I said, I had a surprise and I asked him to come and watch the competition. What surprise? Wu Juman's tone was cold as ice. Why did you specifically want to surprise him? Because of me. The person Song Ke wants to take him to see is me, Lin Yuyu said, removing her mask and revealing her true face in front of others. Wu Juman frowned, apparently not recognizing Lin Yuyu's face. Maeda Ju always respected Wu Juman and regarded him as a role model for his actions, so he naturally wouldn't reveal his star-chasing preferences in front of him. Ouyang Pei, who had a closer relationship with Maeda Ju, recognized her. He approached Wu Juman and quietly explained Lin Yuyu's identity. Song Ke patted Lin Yuyu and stepped forward to explain, we had an arrangement to meet after the competition. 15 minutes ago, he sent me his location. I didn't tell anyone about his whereabouts. The other members of Azure Phoenix team had already checked the nearby surveillance cameras. However, due to the citywide power outage, the cameras were off, and the patrolling city defense robots had stopped working. At the scene, apart from the two bodies, there was no evidence left. After listening to Yang Pei's explanation, Wu Juman's gaze returned to Song Ke. His eyes were red, his hands clenched tightly by his sides, and he looked like a taut bow, and he was on the verge of breaking out. Wu Juman calmed down and realized that Song Ke couldn't have killed Maeda. She had no motive and no time to commit the crime. However, the incident was indeed related to her, and he acknowledged his own prejudice born out of losing control of his emotions. But Wu Juman was also human, a person with flesh and blood. A fellow comrade, fighting shoulder to shoulder, had died in this filthy place. How could he face this rationally? How could he swallow this indignation? The atmosphere in the narrow alley grew even colder than the harsh winter. It was at this moment that Zhuang Qingyan spoke up. Captain Wu, I may have some clues regarding the killer who murdered Maeda Ju. All eyes turned towards him, and Zhuang Qingyan saw mirrored expressions of grief and hatred. He organized his thoughts and began to analyze slowly. Maeda Ju was a sea-level awakener. He awakened a defensive ability. If he was on guard, the assailant couldn't have succeeded easily. However, besides the fatal wound, there were no signs of a struggle on Maeda Ju's body. You mean the killer was someone he knew? Wu Juman noticed the key point. Zhuang Qingyan confirmed his statement, most likely not just knew, but in Wu Juman's eyes, the killer wasn't even aggressive. At least, the killer didn't possess the ability to kill him. That's why Maeda turned his back to the assailant. Zhuang Qingyan's gaze fell on Maeda Ju's mouth. Su Cha had just removed the clothing fragments there, revealing the hollow in his heart that looked like a black hole. I'm trying to reconstruct the crime scene. Maeda Ju was originally positioned at the alley's entrance. After the power outage, he wouldn't have left his spot for no reason. So it's very likely that he discovered or saw something, like the killer committing the murder. However, this person didn't seem threatening to him, so after dealing with the situation, he didn't feel the need to be on guard and turned to leave. The assailant took advantage of this opportunity and killed him. Wu Juman furrowed his brow. pointing out the contradiction in Zhuang Qingyan's deduction. Unreasonable. If Maeda was sure that this person wasn't a threat, why was he killed? Because, Zhuang Qingyan's expression turned cold. From the very beginning, the killer deceived everyone. Su Cha waited patiently. Tiny green light dots emerged from the black hole in Maeda Ju's mouth, tracing the traces of awakened energy, leaving luminescent marks on the ground, extending in a certain direction. I think I have an idea of who it might be. I can find this person. Su Cha and Zhuang Qingyan spoke almost simultaneously. Wu Juman's expression became stern. Who is it? Where is he? His black finger joints creaked. Lead me to find him. I'm going with you. Lin Yuyu stood behind Su Cha. Song Ke also stepped forward, her eyes reddened, a smoldering fire burning within them. And me, never before had she felt such a strong urge to kill. She wanted to kill this person with her own hands. Chapter 59. Tongwen Hospital, 13. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Bad seed. There is a kind of person in this world, born in the dark and cramped slums, wandering in the dirty sewers. They envy others' wealth and happiness, often cursing the unfairness of the heavens and harboring a deep resentment towards their own incompetence. Wu Shanghai was one such individual. He was a seasoned pickpocket, or rather, a thief, with a vile and shameless nature. He targeted the elderly, the weak, and women and took pride in it. After the apocalypse, Wu Shanghai's awakened abilities were related to this. Although it was only the lowest E level, he could steal others' abilities through theft and even level up using this stolen ability. The condition was that he had to personally kill the wielder of that ability to completely strip them of it. The first person Wu Shanghai killed was a fragile female awakener. He relied on a sneak attack from behind. When he struck, he was trembling with fear, his heart pounding wildly. With an axe, he viciously smashed the back of her head. Blood sprayed out, and Wu Shanghai was both terrified and oddly exhilarated. During the process of taking the ability, fragments of the woman's consciousness entered Wu Shanghai's brain. He saw her past, her gentle lover, caring parents, friends. Her happy upbringing remained untouched even by the apocalypse. Good. Wu Shanghai licked his lips, a perverse sensation filling his mind. Everything is mine now. Knowing that his true ability must remain hidden, Wu Shanghai used the stolen, object sewing, ability to register as an E-level awakener. Later, when he fled his homeland, he luckily encountered the Azure Phoenix team and others who were evacuating, and he was taken away as an awakener. Wu Shanghai acted timidly and pretended to be a simple and honest person, successfully following them to District C-72. Ferrara, this free city, amplified his ambitions and malevolent thoughts completely. The second person he killed was a carefully selected D-level awakener, possessing an aggressive dark-type ability. As usual, it was a sneak attack. Upon killing the person, Wu Shanghai learned from the fragments of consciousness that this individual intended to participate in the throne race competition. The countless points, alliance coins, and the possibility of fulfilling desires. The enticing conditions and plentiful rewards further inflated Wu Shanghai's desires. He firmly believed that he was like the protagonists in those leveling up stories, rising from being a useless underdog, crushing everyone in his path, and couldn't wait to obtain a powerful ability to trample everyone. By stealing abilities, Wu Shanghai became a D-level awakener. He used the money and channels left by the deceased to buy a slot from the intermediary, replacing that person in the throne race competition. However, the reality that followed was different from what he had imagined. In this world, there were far too many individuals stronger than him. On the night of the Mirror Lake competition, Wu Shanghai was in dire straits. He almost capsized in the gutter, nearly sending himself to the underworld. Wu Shanghai, who luckily advanced, felt a dark mood. No, he needed an even more powerful ability. Later, he finally killed a C-level awakener. The person had an incredibly elusive ability called Black Hole Devour. From this person's memories, Wu Shanghai unexpectedly learned about the secret of Ferrara. The deceased belonged to a convoluted organization that claimed to be a resistance faction. Their goal was astonishingly to destroy all artificial intelligence. Wu Shanghai realized he had gotten himself into serious trouble. He carefully destroyed the body and all evidence of this person's existence. But he never expected that in the round of 32, he would lose. Despite having acquired the ability of devouring, he could never fully integrate it. It was as if it was inherently rebellious and could not be completely controlled. The consequences of losing the match were dire. The intermediary interrogated him vehemently, but Wu Shanghai was no longer the initially obedient character. He had transformed from a thief to a butcher, his hands stained with blood. Wu Shanghai's malevolent thoughts spiraled out of control. He picked up a stone from the ground and killed the defiant intermediary. "What are you doing? You've killed someone." Wu Shanghai never expected that Maeda would witness the murderous scene. The wrong person appeared at the wrong time and place, discovering his vile nature. Wu Shanghai begged desperately, pleading for mercy. If his true ability was exposed, everything would be over. But Maeda simply didn't listen. He was stern and merciless, threatening to inform the patrol team. Wu Shanghai knocked his head on the ground, looking at Maeda's retreating heels through the cold gap. His eyes were gradually consumed by darkness. "I gave you a chance. Since it's come to this, then just die." Seizing the opportunity while the other was off guard, Wu Shanghai made another sneak attack, killing Maeda and stripping him of his ability. Then he fled in a panic. Back at his residence, Wu Shanghai was engulfed by immense panic. He anxiously bit his fingers, drawing blood. What to do? What to do? The people from Azure Phoenix won't let him off. Wu Juman. Thinking of the captain's sharp eyes, Wu Shanghai couldn't stop shivering, cold sweat trickling down his forehead. It's okay, he consoled himself. He had escaped quickly, leaving no traces. Tonight's power outage ensured that no one knew. After the panic subsided, a familiar excitement gradually surged. Wu Shanghai moved his right hand gently, and an invisible air barrier appeared around him. It could spread out or change shape with his movements, wrapping around him like layered soft armor, its transparent surface indestructible. As expected of Azure Phoenix team's deputy captain, Wu Shanghai's smile was greedy and cruel. This was the most practical ability he had ever seen. The chaotic night passed without any incidents. There were no pursuers and no patrol teams. Wu Shanghai, who had been living in fear, slowly began to ease. He had escaped, he was safe. In a few days, he would leave Ferrara and start anew somewhere else. Wu Shanghai relaxed his mind, lying on the bed with his legs crossed, humming a pleasant tune. He flipped his palm back and forth, admiring his new ability. A few fireflies drifted in from the window, their dim green light flickering and dotting his body. Wu Shanghai reached out to shoo them away, but they didn't budge. The next moment, his movements abruptly stopped. These weren't fireflies at all. This was psychic tracking, an awakener. Wu Shanghai jumped up from the bed. A poisoned dagger shattered the wall, a murderous aura surging as it pierced the gap between his legs. The venom spread, corroding the bed instantly. Thankfully, he moved quickly, or he would have lost his legs. Wu Shanghai, like a mouse, lowered his head and darted into the corner, trying to escape through the hole. Ethereal singing echoed, infiltrating his ears. His legs felt like they were filled with lead, making it difficult to even lift them. A strong debuff control ability. More than one awakener had come. Wu Shanghai frantically erected a defensive barrier, tightly wrapping himself up. Bang! The door blew open, and a stern figure emerged against the dawn's light. Wu Shanghai turned his head in terror, saw the person clearly, and his eyes widened in despair. Wu Juman. It was Wu Juman who had come personally to capture him. "Captain, Wu," he stammered. Wu Juman's expression was icy, giving him no chance to speak. Quick and decisive, he vanished on the spot. The person was an A-level speed-type awakener. Wu Shanghai's awakened energy surged, exerting all his power to ensure the barrier covered his entire body without any gaps. Clang! A terrifying force struck the back of his head, causing the barrier there to teeter, a large crack forming. Wu Shanghai hurriedly began repairing it in a fluster. Wu Juman reappeared from high-speed movement, his voice furious and shocked. You're using Maeda's ability? His gaze made Wu Shanghai tremble all over, as if he had fallen into an abyss. You killed Maeda and deprived him of his ability, Wu Juman said each word distinctly. Under the terrifying pressure, Wu Shanghai struggled to form a coherent sentence. It was already winter, and the biting cold wind blew in from outside, bringing with it two figures, a man and a woman. There were 3 awakeners chasing him. Cold sweat dripped down Wu Shanghai's forehead, and he felt trapped. Wait, something's wrong. The air seemed to stop moving. A more domineering and overbearing pressure than Wu Juman swept over, brushing against Wu Shanghai like a wild wind sweeping leaves. His whole body stood on end, paralyzed. Behind Wu Juman, another figure emerged, encased in frost. The girl held a fierce tang sword, stepping towards him, the tip of the blade exuding extreme killing intent. Wu Shanghai knew her. This woman named Song Ke had terrifying combat power. In Mirror Lake, she could single-handedly kill mutant zombies and mutant water monsters, escaping unscathed from a 100-person siege. Last night, she even decapitated the mechanical head, Siang, with a single stroke. Why would such a grim reaper appear here? Wu Shanghai's legs weakened, unable to withstand the dual pressure. Tears and mucus mixed together as he cried and begged, Captain Wu, don't kill me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please, don't kill me. I beg you, I know many secrets. I'll tell you everything. Spare me, please. Wu Juman coldly looked down at him, as if looking at a corpse. Wu Shanghai cowered and turned towards Song Ke, trying to break through from her. You're participating in the throne race competition, and you want to win, right? I know many secrets, the resistance faction, yes, I know their next plans. I'll tell you everything, please don't kill me. While begging for mercy, Wu Shanghai carefully observed their reactions and cautiously retreated. Song Ke's expression remained unchanged, her eyes locking onto him. You deserve to die. No matter what this person said, she wouldn't spare him. The blade turned, and without a second thought, it slashed at the air barrier, a sharp and grating sound filling the air. Wu Shanghai was terrified, knowing there was no hope in pleading with this person. He turned towards Wu Juman, shouting desperately, Captain Wu, the key, I know where the key is, I've seen it. Wu Shanghai accessed the fragmented memories of Maeda Ju, seeing the image of Xie Zuo and unexpectedly learning about Azure Phoenix's mission. This was his only bargaining chip at the moment. Wu Juman moved lightning fast, blocking Song Ke's attack with his black gloves. Song Ke was stunned and turned to glare at him. Why was he still listening to him? Where is he? Wu Juman stared intently at the kneeling man. There was hope. Wu Shanghai's eyes darted around, attempting to buy some time. Once, when I was buying a slot from the intermediary, I saw that person. He was with someone with blue eyes. At where? Wu Juman shouted sharply. Wu Shanghai's breath became rapid, the pressure making his mental power run wild, about to explode. Manzoni Street, number 16. The person is there, I'm sure. While Wu Juman pondered the address for a second, Wu Shanghai's ability suddenly expanded outward, pushing away the few people in front of him. Wu Juman realized and punched. Bang! A severe impact rang out. The ability barrier, released at full strength, surprisingly withstood his attack. Wu Juman attacked again, one punch after another, with astonishing destructive power. However, the air barrier tightly wrapped around Wu Shanghai, like an impenetrable cocoon, unable to reach his true self. You can't kill me, you can't kill me. Wu Shanghai laughed manically. He now possessed a defensive ability, and nobody could break his barrier. Great stuff, Deputy Captain Maeda's ability. Ha ha ha, Great stuff, he described wildly, shouting fearlessly. Wu Juman was furious, thinking of Maeda Ju, a trustworthy teammate who always stood behind him for support. That was his comrade's ability. How could it be desecrated by such a person? With a slight movement of his palm, a highly destructive particle weapon appeared out of thin air. Wu Juman adjusted the aim, targeting Wu Shanghai. If this shot went off, the entire house would be leveled. But a figure rushed past him even faster. Song Ke leapt high in the air, her weapon slashing with the force of tearing the sky apart. The ferocious Tang sword chopped down, directly clashing with the barrier. A dazzling light flashed, the air barrier shattered inch by inch, and the blade continued down. Blood splattered as Wu Shanghai's left arm was severed. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream resounded. What did a defensive ability matter? What did an air barrier matter? A metal-type ability could cut through everything. He was just a vile thief, inherently evil. If Song Ke wanted him dead, there was no way he could survive today. Wu Shanghai rolled around in a miserable state on the ground. Seeing Song Ke raising her blade again, he raised his voice, babbling incoherently, disregarding everything. You can't kill me, don't kill me. Maeda Ju, there's something he hasn't had a chance to tell you. Don't kill me, I'll tell you. This was becoming unbearable. Song Ke lowered her eyes, her offensive in no way paused. Never give the enemy a chance to speak. This was a lesson reiterated by her master. The Tang sword once again chopped towards the barrier, transparent glass shattered, a clear path unhindered, viciously plunging into Wu Shanghai's mouth. Same position, same method of death. Just how he killed Maeda Ju, that's how he died under Song Ke's blade. Blood splattered, and Wu Shanghai's heart burst instantly. His breathing abruptly stopped, his eyes bulging out, like a dirty rat in the sewer, stomped to death. Song Ke withdrew the Tang sword, her face covered in bloodstains, expressionless. Another fierce strike, stabbing down. Completely dead, the room fell quiet. Song Ke walked up to Wu Juman, silent for a long time, unsure of what to say. Finally, she said, I'm sorry. The one who should have received the apology was Maeda Ju, but he could never hear it again. Wu Juman looked at Wu Shanghai's body on the ground and spoke coldly. To enter the Azure Phoenix's ranks of Awakeners, one must not only pass the ability assessment but also undergo a test of character. Both are essential, therefore, not all Awakeners can travel with us. I was wrong, I shouldn't have taken you with us. Song Ke had no words in response. If it weren't for Wu Juman, she might have been trapped on the island in F-177, helpless and waiting to die. This captain of the Azure Phoenix had done everything within his power, rescuing civilians and Awakeners from different places, leading them all the way to evacuation. He was undoubtedly a good man, but now, he said he was wrong. Wu Juman glanced at her and said coldly, from now on, don't see anyone in the team, don't contact anyone. That's it, there's no connection between Azure Phoenix and you anymore. Wu Juman left. Song Ke looked down at her own shoes, lost in thought for a long time. Ke-er, Lin Yu called her worriedly. Song Ke snapped out of it, and when she looked up again, her expression was calm. It's okay, let's go. On the hotel's upper floor, Song Ke sat on the railing, silently looking outside through the floor-to-ceiling window. She had been in this state for several hours. Xu Xing peeked at her from behind, hesitant to approach. Instead, he went to fetch reinforcements. First, he went to find Fang Jishu. Dr. Fang was lying on the sofa, the back of his hand against his forehead, eyes half closed. He wasn't asleep, lost in thought about something. Hey, lazy old man, Xu Xing lightly kicked his leg, aren't you a doctor? My dad said you can come up with all sorts of comforting words. Hurry, go talk to my sister. Fang Jishu grunted, what's it to me? He turned around, his back to Xu Xing, and added nonchalantly, in situations like this, you have to find your own way out. I can't do it myself, so how can I advise others? Xu Xing felt helpless in the face of his indifference, stomped his foot, and went to knock on another person's door. Zhuang Qingyan was in his room scrolling through the display, fingertips sliding rapidly, swiftly perusing a massive amount of data and information. Daylight shone on his profile, his expression especially focused. A night had passed, and Ferreira's energy had been restored, but artificial intelligence was still absent. Xu Xing fidgeted on the carpet, reluctantly speaking up, could you go and talk to sister? He never really got along with Zhuang Qingyan. Strictly speaking, this was the first time the irritable little lion had ever softened, using a somewhat imploring tone to speak to him. Zhuang Qingyan glanced at him curiously and teased, "What? Worried she'll keep sinking into despair?" Xu Xing pouted. Although he didn't answer, that was exactly what he was worried about. Zhuang Qingyan turned the wheelchair and changed direction, pressing the pause button. "Rest assured, she's not as fragile as you think. But, it's time to end the indulgence." As he passed by Xu Xing, Zhuang Qingyan flicked his head, saying, "Instead of worrying about your sister, why not focus on improving your abilities? Don't always hold her back. Are you aiming to become the champion of swimming, or do you want to be a lazy fish that only shouts?" 666. Xu Xing held his head in his hands, yelling in annoyance, "Mind your own business." Zhuang Qingyan chuckled lightly and went to the balcony, passing by Xu Xing. "What are you thinking?" The wheelchair stopped behind Song Ke, and he asked in his usual tone. Song Ke didn't look back but instead tapped the invisible glass in front of her. This marvelous piece of technology could seamlessly blend into the air, like a barrier. Only when you pressed on it with your fingertips would it slightly reveal itself. Wu Jumansaw said he was wrong, she calmly recounted. He said he shouldn't have taken us to evacuate. Today was the first day of energy recovery. Looking down from a high vantage point, Ferreira's streets were desolate, the whole city eerily quiet. He told me not to contact anyone else in the T-team. "Does this upset you?" Zhuang Qingyan asked. "Not upset," Song Ke shook her head. "I'm thinking that maybe I was wrong too." She sighed and counted on her fingers. "I'm very unlucky, and not very smart. I shouldn't have kept such a close distance from them, bringing disasters upon others." She still remembered back in Hua City when Zhou Anqi called her a star of disaster. Song Ke didn't take it seriously at the time and just wanted to give her a good slap. But now, she felt her words were prophetic. It seemed like people around her were always unlucky because of her. "I shouldn't have brought you all back. Maybe without me, things would be better." Her fingers weren't enough, and Song Ke slumped her shoulders in frustration. "I won't pick up people again in the future. As for Wu Juman, I won't comment. Let him solve it himself," Zhuang Qingyan said. "As for you, don't take everything on yourself. Maeda's death was because he encountered a natural bad seed like Wu Shanghai. In a sense, it was his own carelessness that was the fatal cause. It's not your fault, your luck is a bit lacking." Zhuang Qingyan smiled. "It's quite difficult to drag others down. At your young age, don't be so superstitious. As for the people you brought back, let's start with Xu Xing. There's no need to say much. Those two coolies were turned around at your whim, yet they didn't storm off. Even Fang Jishu, if you were to go back and ask him if he regrets following you, he'd probably just roll his eyes and continue sleeping where he is. Their answers are all there for everyone to see. Aren't you clear about it? No one regrets it. And what about you?" Song Ke's clear eyes looked at him. "Me?" Zhuang Qingyan's smile gradually widened. "You're my golden thigh. I haven't had a chance to hug you tightly, how could I regret it?" Song Ke was left speechless for a moment, but strangely, her lips couldn't help but curve upward, and a small dimple showed on her cheek. Zhuang Qingyan's gaze lingered on her face for a couple of seconds, and he leisurely added, "However, I agree with the last sentence. Don't bring people back anymore. Your arms are so thin, and there are too many people to carry." Song Ke slowly turned her head, staring at him expressionlessly. After a while, she hopped off the railing, murmuring to herself as she touched her stomach, "I'm hungry." Zhuang Qingyan's wheelchair followed behind her. "Now that there's no robot butler, we have to do everything ourselves." After walking a few steps, all the terminals, televisions, screens, and projections in the hotel suddenly lit up, displaying the same image. A middle-aged man with a stern face was seated at a desk, arrogantly delivering a speech. "I am Leon, the newly appointed magistrate of Ferrara. I now announce that the artificial intelligence known as Ilya has been completely eradicated. From today onwards, Ferrara will enforce new rules. Rule 1. Strict entry restrictions will be implemented citywide, expelling unidentified refugees. Rule 2. All music performances and entertainment activities are prohibited. Holding large public events must be approved by the City Hall. Rule 3. All residents are prohibited from hoarding any form of artificial intelligence. Those found in violation will be severely punished. Rule 4. Rule 10. The ongoing throne race competition will be taken over by the City Hall, and the rules and procedures will be redesigned." Upon hearing this, Zhuang Qingyan let out a cold laugh. "Cancel all major events, but conveniently leave the throne race. It seems they don't intend to let go of this lucrative opportunity." Song Ke furrowed her brow. Is he announcing Ilya's death like this? The resistance faction had just succeeded last night, and they hadn't confirmed the final result yet, but Leon was in a rush to declare sovereignty. Was Leon too proud and reckless? Wouldn't Ilya make any move? As they were speaking, a deafening roar echoed from a certain direction within the city. Song Ke focused her gaze. Is that the Sakara Theater? Just as Leon was delivering his speech, thousands of zombies surged out from underground beneath the Sakara Theater. Chapter 60. Tungwin Hospital, 14. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Are you looking for me? A drop of ink splattered onto the white paper, spreading out in large splotches. When a zombie broke free from its restraints, it triggered waves upon waves of frenzy. This was the current situation at the Sakara Theater. Starting from a single point, it rapidly spread in all directions, an eerie zombie horde that sent shivers down one's spine, crawling out from underground and flooding the streets and alleys of Ferrara. In all the screens and projected images, Leon's speech was abruptly interrupted, leaving him with a bewildered expression. His passionate speech had just been brutally debunked, turning into a ludicrous joke. V587 had once taken on a commission to clear the zombies at Luli Port. At the time, the system had popped up with a strange prompt, asking them to capture the zombies and bring them back alive. Song Ke had followed a transportation truck, only to discover that these zombies were being transported to the underground of the Sakara Theater. She, like others before, had thought that zombies were just fodder for the throne race competition. But now, reflecting on it, perhaps it wasn't fodder, but rather a means to cultivate something, and such crazed behavior would ultimately lead to disaster. Cultivating zombies was already an extremely dangerous endeavor, especially when their numbers exceeded the threshold they could control. 7 to 8 out of 10 abnormal sources from nearby C and D-grade cities flowed into Ferrara. While this city claimed to be one of freedom on the surface, its dark underground had long belonged to a vast kingdom of the undead. Now, all the undead had escaped. The ordinary citizens strolling on the streets hadn't yet grasped what was happening. They looked around in confusion, their dilated pupils capturing the swiftly approaching figures of the zombies. In an instant, the zombies lunged at them, biting their necks. "Ah, help, help!" Similar tragedies continued to unfold in Ferrara. In a high-rise hotel, Song Ke furrowed her brow, asking, how did it come to this?" Zhuang Qingyan joined her in looking down, his tone indifferent. "The Sakara Theater is under integrated management, with everything from security, monitoring, logistics, to defense systems controlled entirely by artificial intelligence." Song Ke immediately realized, the artificial intelligence has been shut down. Zhuang Qingyan nodded. "Exactly, Leon was too engrossed in enjoying the fruits of victory and didn't promptly eliminate potential risks. Song K still couldn't fully grasp one thing. Even if artificial intelligence managed more accurately and was far more secure than humans, could it truly be flawless, immune to any malfunctions? Wasn't there any emergency plan within the theater, allowing such a significant threat to erupt unchecked? Zhuang Qingyan seemed to understand what she was thinking and raised an eyebrow. Do you think these zombies escaped on their own, or were they deliberately released? Song K. She abruptly turned to look at Zhuang Qingyan. His expression was serious and it didn't look like he was joking. A chill ran down Song K's spine. If the zombies were intentionally released, then in all of Ferrara, only one person could have done it. Song K remembered Lin Yuyu's statement about Ilya having no feelings for the people, and a sense of dread enveloped her. Did artificial intelligence truly have no pity for humanity? Ferrara, without artificial intelligence, faced disasters far beyond this. The citizens of Ferrara were like oversized infants indulging in a dreamlike illusion, full of bravado in words but practically useless in combat, with a combat effectiveness of less than zero. They took pleasure in watching the Awakeners massacre zombies, but when it came to facing the same situation themselves, they were terrified. Most people trembled in fear, unable to even lift their weapons. The zealous audience who had once criticized the participants as useless, and couldn't even kill a few zombies, were now scared witless, wishing to stay at home forever. On the first day of the zombie outbreak, 90% of the public sector came to a standstill. The residents of Ferrara neither had work nor needed to go to the office. Engrossed in their leisure, everything from food, accommodation, transportation, and commerce was handled by AI. In their free time, they engaged in various entertainment activities. But now, with a colossal change in their lives and fear surrounding them, the frightened populace hid in their homes, anxious and fearful throughout the night. On the second day, some Awakeners came out to hunt and kill zombies, but the effect was minimal. They killed the old ones, and new ones emerged. With too many people being bitten, they kept transforming into mutant zombies. Ferrara's municipal hotline was almost overwhelmed, flooded with angry citizens denouncing Leon as a coward for not deploying forces to suppress the zombies. Leon was powerless in this situation. The cold artificial intelligence was unafraid of death, enabling it to valiantly confront the zombies. However, humans were afraid. His personal guard consisted of humans, and not a single one dared to step forward to kill the zombies. Regarding Leon's inaction, Zhuang Qingyan gave a cold two-word evaluation: utterly pathetic. Song K wholeheartedly agreed. The resistance faction was a group of spineless individuals who only knew how to bicker amongst themselves. Compared to Tungwan's security team, they were worlds apart. The contrast was stark. Zhao Lijiang and his team, when faced with the zombie tide, could choose to stand their ground, but Leon couldn't even manage to drive away the zombies. On the third day, the conflict escalated further. Some of the zombies fled Ferrara, providing the city's residents with a brief respite. The enraged populace regained their senses and initiated massive protests and demonstrations. Leon hid behind the screens, attempting to pacify the people through a public speech. However, every place he showed himself was pelted with stones, and countless people cursed at him. Get lost. Within a short day, Leon faced assassination attempts over 100 times. Unable to withstand the threat of death, he awkwardly chose to step down. He became the 3-day ruler, the shortest-serving leader in the history of the Alliance. After Leon announced his departure, chants for Ilya erupted throughout Ferrara, starting from scattered calls to a thunderous, unified roar, echoing throughout the entire Ferrara. Ilya, Ilya, Ilya. In Ferrara, many absurd things were possible. Ilya achieved victory in this bloodless struggle without expending a single soldier, without even showing up. Song K fastened the buttons of her coat and gripped the spiritual weapon on the table. I am going out to take a look. The people behind her seemed to want to speak, but she interrupted them preemptively. None of why you were allowed to go. It was chaotic outside. She could venture out alone, while her companions should stay in a safe place for now. Zhuang Qingyan, Xu Xing, and Fang Jishu remained in the hotel, allowing her to act with peace of mind. Song Ke leapt and sprinted between the rooftops. The north wind billowed her coat, making it look like wings were sprouting from her back. The distance between the two buildings in front of her was a bit far. Song Ke accelerated and leapt, releasing her transformed spiritual weapon Bone Whip midair, entangling the low-altitude track above her. With a swing, she smoothly landed using the momentum. As soon as she landed, heavy panting was heard behind her. Song Ke didn't stop, rolling forward, and sharp claws sliced through the spot where she had just been, leaving deep marks. Song Ke quickly turned around, ready for action, but then froze. The zombie in front of her was noticeably different from the ones she had seen before. It was larger, its skin tougher, its nails sharper, and even its pupils were not the common grayish-white but closer to pitch black. Her heart skipped a beat. This zombie seemed to have evolved. The seemingly evolved zombie crouched down, kicked with its right leg, and sprang forward like a spring, with incredible speed and explosive force. Song Ke lashed out with her bone whip, the sharp and slender segments tightly entwining around the zombie's neck. She pulled back with one hand, but it didn't budge. Had its strength increased as well? She hesitated for a moment, then shifted to a two-handed grip on the whip. Engaging her waist and abdomen, she swung her arms, rotated her entire body, utilizing her core strength to viciously swing a half-circle, executing a shoulder throw that flipped the zombie to the ground. The zombie roared and struggled, but it was trapped, unable to move. Song Ke tightened the whip's end. Crack! The protruding bone crushed its neck, and the fierce head rolled off, splitting the body into two parts. After this peculiar zombie's death, Song Ke thought for a moment. As a precaution, she pulled out a dagger and forcefully stabbed into its skull. A quick twist left the dagger tip hitting something hard. She pulled it out and found a sparkling, emerald-like crystal. Though its color wasn't as deep as the one from the Mirror Lake's water monster, it was undoubtedly a level 2 crystal. Song Ke stood up abruptly, looking down at the ground. There were still many wandering zombies in the streets and alleys. Given the astonishing number, she didn't believe this was the only evolved zombie. Could Ferrara have really bred a zombie king? Suddenly, her gaze focused on a familiar figure passing in a certain direction, entering a tower. Song Ke had excellent eyesight and quickly identified the person. Lu Xinglan. Wasn't he supposed to have withdrawn long ago? Why was he still in Ferrara? And why enter the tower at this time? Song Ke pocketed the crystal and quickly followed. The tower was Ferrara's tallest skyscraper, essentially a gigantic server room, housing the central hub for all artificial intelligence. There were no stairs or elevators inside the tower, making it completely inconvenient for humans. Song Ke could only use the brute method, climbing floor by floor. Around the 7th floor, she didn't find Lu Xinglan. Instead, she reached a dead end and saw a platform over 2 meters high. Subtle movements came from under the platform. Song Ke circled around and found a miniaturized robot in a corner, repeatedly hopping in place, struggling to reach the top but failing. The little robot had a square body with wheels on both sides, round eyes resembling binoculars, and 2 short mechanical arms. Song Ke passed by it, exchanged a 2-second gaze with it, and the robot's movements paused momentarily before its 2 mechanical arms started to sway happily. All the artificial intelligence in the tower had already been shut down. This was probably a robot with a root programming error, lacking self-awareness, which was why it kept bumping into walls here. Song Ke ignored it and effortlessly leapt upwards, gripping the platform with one hand, preparing to climb up again. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it up. Something had caught her trouser leg. Song Ke looked down, and the adorable little robot was looking up at her. Its mechanical scissor hands were unapologetically latched onto her. She tried to move upwards, but in an attempt to free herself, the hem of her coat got caught as well. Song K let go and crouched down, attempting to communicate with it. Stop fooling around. I have things to do. Can you play by yourself? The little robot tilted its head, its round eyes blinking, not knowing if it understood. Song K took a couple of steps forward, and the little robot was dragged along like a pendant. She shook her leg, and half of the robot's body began to dance like seaweed, its program beeping incessantly in alarm but still not letting go. Song K grew irritated with the constant shaking, and with a bit of force, twisted and fastened its two scissor hands together, rendering it completely immobile. The round eyes of the little robot blinked, seemingly bewildered by the loss of its arms. Finally, it became quiet. Satisfied, Song K picked it up, tucked it into her collar, zipped up, and climbed back onto the platform. First, she carried it with her, intending to find a random place to dispose of it later. On the top floor of the tower, a massive floating screen quietly hovered in the center. In front of the wall formed by an immense flow of data, stood a figure. Song K hid in the corner, secretly observing Lu Xinglan. He carefully touched the surface of the screen as if searching for something. Just as she was about to move closer, Lu Xinglan, who had his back to her, spoke in a deep voice, "Come out, I've been waiting for you." Song K sighed. Her hiding skills were indeed lacking. Lu Xinglan turned around, and upon seeing her face, his ice blue eyes flickered, slightly surprised. "It's you?" "It's me," Song K answered in a deep tone, thinking to herself, "Of course it's me, who else would it be? Was it you following me just now? Why did you do that?" Lu Xinglan asked as he withdrew his hands and put them behind his back. Why you come to the T-Tower?" Song K asked in return. "Answer my question first," Lu Xinglan said arrogantly, "and also, things that don't concern you, don't ask or get involved." Song K slowly replied, "Why? Just because you're from District B? Oh?" Lu Xinglan smiled, and the unique color of his pupils rippled. "You know quite a bit." The next moment, his smile vanished, and his expression turned as cold as his eyes. "I don't want to waste words with you. Where's the other person? Tell him to come out." "What other person?" Song K was puzzled. "You've been following me all the way and still pretending? I don't have time to beat around the bush with you. Quickly call him out." "Who?" Song K was speechless. Lu Xinglan stared at her bewildered expression, gradually furrowing his brow. What's going on? Is she pretending to be clueless, or does she really not know? In his hand behind his back, a light orb formed as the code 101010 danced within it. If it wasn't the person he was waiting for, then he wouldn't hesitate to act. Song K opened her mouth, about to speak. From the bulging collar, a cute little robot emerged, and a rough electronic voice sounded mechanically. "Are you looking for me?" Song K. "Oh my God, how is this one alive?" She was utterly shocked.